Despite people finding insanely rare things in Minecraft over the years, there are some things that can happen in this game that are so rare that no one's ever come across them. So in this video, we're going to take a look at some of Minecraft's rarest possibilities. Let's start with something simple. When breaking an oak leaf, we all know that there's a 1 in 200 chance of it dropping an apple. And that's pretty common, right? But how rare would it be for every leaf on an oak tree to drop an apple? Well, on average, oak trees have about 50 leaves on them. So we need the probability of an apple dropping from a leaf 50 times in a row, which would be a 1 out of 200 to the power of 50 chance, which if we put into a scientific calculator equals to an 8.88 times 10 to the power of negative 116 chance. What that means is, for an apple tree like this to happen, there's a 0.1150888% chance. And despite this being nearly impossible, there's a possibility for something even rarer to happen to an oak tree. Other than dropping an apple, every tree has an extra 1 in 20 chance of dropping a sapling, and a 1 in 100 chance of dropping 2 sticks. We all know these can drop independently when breaking leaves, but there's actually a minuscule chance for all of these to drop at the same time from a single oak leaf. But for this to happen, it's a 1 in 400,000 chance, which makes it the rarest possible loot drop from a leaf. So going back to the apple tree, what about a tree that has the rarest leaf drop from every leaf? So 50 leaves in a row, each dropping an apple, a sapling, and 2 sticks. This would be a 1 out of 400,000 to the power of 50 chance, which in scientific notation equals to 7.89 times 10 to the power of negative 281, which means there's a 0.2810789% chance for every leaf on an oak tree to drop this loot. But let's push this to the absolute limit. Let's say we loaded a single biome forest only world. What would be the chances for every oak leaf in this whole world to drop the rarest loot? Well, first I went to a world like this and counted each oak tree within a 100 by 100 block radius, which ended up being 186 trees. So let's say that every 100 by 100 blocks in this world has 186 oak trees. So because a Minecraft world is 60 million by 60 million blocks across, counting the negative axes as well, it means there would be about 66,960,000,000,000 oak trees in this world. And I know this isn't super accurate for the whole world, but it's impossible to truly know how many oak trees there are in a world like this. So we'll have to use this as an estimate. Also, thank you to Epic1012 from my Discord server for helping with this calculation. So anyway, let's assume each tree has 50 leaves, which is probably an underestimation as big trees have way more than that. But let's just stick with 50 for continuity. That would mean there are about 3,348,000,000,000,000 oak leaves in this forest only world. So if we do the same calculation for 3,348,000,000,000,000 leaves, all dropping the rarest possible loot of an apple, a sapling, and 2 sticks, it's so rare that my calculator doesn't even know the answer. So we can just say the chance of this happening is a non-zero chance. And this possibility is so rare that I doubt even Canman18 can think of something rarer than this. Now let's move on to something else that no one's ever found, and that's the rarest theoretical fishing loot in Minecraft. And no, I'm not talking about the 0.1% chance to catch 10 ink sacks at once, because you all know that would be far too common for this video. Not many people know that while fishing you can catch something so rare that no one's ever caught it before in Minecraft history, because you'd never know this exists simply by looking at the loot table. The item I'm talking about is an enchanted book, but not just any enchanted book, because normal enchanted books aren't rare to fish and have a 16% chance to be fished from the treasure category. What I'm talking about is an enchanted book that's so rare and overpowered, most people don't even know it exists. What makes this enchanted book so abnormal is the fact that it has 12 different maximum enchantments on it. But no one's ever talked about this enchanted book online because it's so rare that no one has ever fished it, and most likely no one will ever fish it naturally in Minecraft. So how do we even know this theoretical book exists? Well, it all started recently when a user on my Discord server named Sam asked the question of what the best possible enchanted book from fishing was. To my knowledge, no one had ever wondered that before, including myself, because I just assumed it was a random enchantment that you get from each book. Sam also showed that they'd once fished an enchanted book with 5 enchantments on it. So after I saw that, I was also curious about what the best enchanted book was, but I didn't have the knowledge to answer that question myself. So I went to the only person I could think of that could answer it, the legendary seed finder called Chris, who's an expert on these sorts of things. For context, Chris once used code to find some insane things in Minecraft, such as a stronghold chest with a book that had 10 enchantments on it, which I talked about in a previous video that you can watch afterwards. But anyway, if there was one person who knew Minecraft's code well enough to find the rarest book from fishing, it was Chris. So when I asked Chris about this, he told me that enchanted books from fishing work similarly to enchanted books from stronghold chests, meaning that the books get a level 30 enchantment with no limit to the number of enchantments. But it still gets exponentially rarer to find books with multiple enchantments on them. That means that theoretically an enchanted book could exist with an insane amount of enchantments. But the question was, how would we even confirm such a thing is possible? Or even find the chances of it happening? Well, luckily Chris had an answer to that. How a fishing rod determines what enchantments you get from a book is somewhat random. On the surface, there's the loot table for fishing items, but there are actually predetermined combinations of this loot table called loot seeds. So when you fish, you're not directly getting something random from the loot table, but you're actually getting one of the predetermined loot seeds, which is made up of a combination of the loot table, which is also what happens with stronghold chests as well. So Chris ran his code to search through every possible loot sequence for fishing in Minecraft, and what he found was insane. Out of the 2 to the power of 48 possible loot seeds that exist for fishing, there's only one in existence that can pull this insane book, which has 12 enchantments on it. Chris confirms that this book does exist, but there's only a 1 out of 2 to the power of 48 chance to catch it while fishing, and that's only by using a fishing rod with luck of the seed 2, and in a version below 1.18, because loot seeds for fishing were changed after that update. So because fishing this book randomly is less than a 1 out of 281 trillion chance, that means the only person who has a feasible chance of finding this is Dream in his next manhunt. But anyway, did you know chickens can be extremely rare as well? I'm not even joking. Some of you probably already know that whenever you throw an egg, there's a 1 out of 256 chance of 4 chickens hatching from it at the same time. This occurrence is already uncommon, but what would be the chance of you throwing a whole stack of 16 eggs and each one hatching 4 chickens each? Well, what we need to do is find the probability of 1 out of 256 to the power of 16, and that equals to a 2.94 times 10 to the power of negative 39 chance, meaning there's a 0.390 chance of this happening. This is so rare that you can win the lottery multiple times in a row, then have a stack of eggs all hatch 4 chickens each. But let's take it a step further. What about a whole inventory of eggs? How rare would it be for every single one of those to hatch 4 chickens? Well, the Minecraft inventory has 37 slots if we count the offhand, which is 592 eggs in total, to hatch 4 chickens each. The chances of this happening would be a 1 out of 256 to the power of 592 chance. And this is so rare, I don't actually have anything to compare it to. But let's move on to some other things in Minecraft that are almost impossibly rare. UUIDs are randomly generated strings of text that are unique to each Minecraft account, and you can see yours on websites like NameMC. In one of my previous videos, I showed some rare UUIDs that exist within Minecraft's database, such as the account named Phantom, which has the only Minecraft UUID with 9 consecutive numbers in a row, which is already almost impossibly rare, but theoretically, this can get even rarer. So what's the rarest possible UUID in Minecraft? In the future, could a UUID exist that spells long words and sentences? Well, to find that out, we need to know how UUIDs are generated in the first place. UUIDs are 36 characters long and are always hexadecimal, meaning they use numbers from 0 to 9 and only use the letters from A to F, rather than the whole alphabet. So it's still possible for them to spell words by using these letters, but it kind of limits the amount of words that are possible. So UUIDs are completely random except for the metadata showing the version and variant. For example, you can see that every valid UUID should have the number 4 as the 13th character, because Minecraft uses version 4 UUIDs. So in my other video, there's already people who've reported their UUIDs spelling small words, such as someone who found the word B in their ID. But in reality, there aren't that many combinations that can make long words. For example, the longest words you can make by only using the letters A, B, C, D, E, F are facade, decade, decaf, and the longest one is defaced with 7 letters. As for sentences, there could be a UUID that spells out a face, deface, which is a sentence that makes sense. I'm sure there's many other sentences and word combinations that can be made, and if you can think of any, let us all know in the comments. But the rarest possible UUID would be for the whole thing to be 36 4s all in a row. We can actually work out the probability of this happening by seeing the possibility of each number and letter appearing in the UUID. So we know there are 16 different characters that can appear in UUIDs, being the numbers from 0 to 9 and the letters A to F. The 13th spot of the UUID is already predetermined to be a 4, so we can count that out already. So that means we just have to hope that the number 4 appears 35 times in a row. So we would need a 1 out of 16 to the power of 35 chance, which is 7.17 times 10 to the power of negative 43, which is a 0.430,717% chance, which actually isn't too bad compared to some of the other things we've seen in this video. So after seeing all of this crazy stuff, you might be wondering, what's the true rarest possibility in Minecraft? Well, that's a hard question to answer, because you can always keep going one further, like catching the rarest book 2 times in a row, or catching it 1,000,000 times in a row. I mean, at that point, you probably have a higher chance of quantum tunneling through a door in real life than that happening. But no matter how small the chance, there's always a possibility for insane things to happen in Minecraft. Or imagine every time you make a new world, you randomly keep loading the same seed repeatedly by coincidence. No one even thinks this can happen because of how impossible it sounds, but there's always a non-0% chance chance it can happen, no matter how rare it is. So we'll never truly know the rarest possibility in Minecraft, because with some imagination, you can always think of something more rare. But who knows, maybe the rarest possibilities were the friends we made along the way. No, but seriously, there is something that's so rare that it'll never happen, and that's you clicking the subscribe button. So subscribe to beat the odds so we can reach 50,000, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye!